Hey, this is John Lee Dumas, the founder and host of Entrepreneurs on Fire. And if you're wanting to learn how to embrace change and navigate through disruption as a leader, then listen to the Leadership is Changing podcast with my good friend, Denis. He's prepared to ignite.
Welcome to Leadership is Changing. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change. This is taking your leadership to another level by finding the balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing with your host, Denis.
Hey, the other thing I would ask you here is, the name of the show is Leadership is Changing. Well, what does that mean for you when I say that statement?
So I believe that we as leaders need to be more human. I think that for far too long, we've had this sort of Taylorian management view of what leadership should be: time and motion, command and control. And actually it's about trust. If you really want a well-performing organization, it's about trust. It's about being human. It's why I talk about my disabilities, because they're hidden. No one need know. They may just think I'm an idiot, right? Because I'm late or spell things wrong. But I talk about it because I believe that's a leadership issue. And if I want people to change, then I need to be part of that and I need to lead by example. And I think that actually when we show our humanity and our fallibility, and we talk about it, then that makes people believe in us as human beings and want to engage with us, because I believe that we are only going to bring forward businesses through consensus and the will of our employee base.
Yeah. So it's like you humanize and you show the human side of you, as you said. There's the vulnerability side of it as well that's been shown. But then I think that's, with all of that combination, that's where the trust is actually formed.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a beautiful combination, right? That it all comes together. So more or less people can relate to you rather than being that thing out there as a leader, the command and control, as you're saying. But not everyone can relate to that. But if you are human and being you, it's amazing what will actually happen.
Yeah. I don't think that you can motivate through fear for a long period of time. You can do it for a short period of time. You can force your will upon people, but long term, it won't work. So you either have massive employee churn and terrible engagement and low morale, which has an impact on your company, or people just sort of stop doing what you want to do. So you have to bring people along with you. And I think that's really key in an area like I'm in, which has not been flavor of the month. I've had to use persuasion to get this onto the leadership agenda, because people don't perceive, oh yeah, it's a top money-making item. And CSR, much higher up the agenda now this decade than it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago when I started doing assistive tech. But actually, I had to persuade people. And that means that you have to be human, you have to be relatable, and you have to talk in the language that they understand. So if you're doing your business case to your C-suite, then you have to talk to them in their language. But equally, if you're talking to people at coalface, you need to be talking in their language. There's no point using acronyms and management speak the whole time.
Yeah, so adjust to the audience. In other words, who's in front of you, and then make sure you adjust to the... Yeah, that's great. And I use, for a lot of organizations, the disability side and inclusion. For some of them, I'm sure that there is a tick in the box and they're just doing something there to get that tick in the box. But where I think it's actually more than that, right? How do you look at it with the companies that you see, what you're seeing in the industry around the disability?
Let's be clear, it's not a niche issue. There are between 1 and 1.3 billion people in the world with a disability.
It's massive.
So that's either the population of either India or China. Okay? So who wouldn't want to address a cohort of the population of that size? It's crazy not to. Then as societies, we also are aging rapidly. So we have this rapidly aging global population. We need to deal with the mega trend of that, because what we've also got is like this inverted pyramid where the older people who we traditionally supported through the sort of the financial contributions of the younger people.
Yep.
It's not going to work anymore because there are more older people than there are younger people. and the younger people are more indebted than the older people. So then we have to find ways to enable the older people to be active and self-supporting and make society sustainable. Now that has huge economic value. Gartner estimated that the global disability market is worth something like $8 trillion. Now that's a sort of halo, but it's still a huge sum of money. And it's like the defense budget for a couple of large countries. Right? So that kind of money should interest businesses. So these people are around us, they're in our companies, they're people like me. It's the only diversity group that any of us can join at any time in our lives. Right? It's intersectional, and pretty much if you live long enough, you're pretty much 100% guaranteed to end up with a disability, because age and disability are interrelated. So that's why it's worth engaging. But then actually people have this kind of idea that you want it to be a charitable thing. I have no problem with making good money out of doing good things. And I think that businesses can have viable business models doing good stuff.
Yeah.
Why is it only okay for businesses to make money doing bad things? Why should we make more money out of destroying the planet than building it up? I think and that is where leadership and mindsets and the global consciousness is changing. To bring it back to the theme of your podcast, that's where the real change is happening. Because I think that there is a real change in people's mindsets about we need to do something different. We need to do business different, and we need to restructure our society. And I think that COVID-19 has probably just pressed the accelerator pedal on that.
Yep, totally agree. And so leaders' mindsets and people looking at things differently. Do you know, so you may not know, Neil, but some of my listeners do know, and that is I went through a period of time whereby my voice became very hoarse. And long story short, after so many years, they found a tumor on my left vocal cord. And for me, a lot of it was, this is my tool to be able to speak and do the executive coaching, the facilitation, the podcast and so forth. It's not a hammer. It's not a computer. It's not a printer. It's the voice. And so there was no support groups in our area or actually in the country around voice dysphonia that we could see. And so trying to do that and still working for a large global corporate and then struggling at times, it was really quite interesting to see and actually experience. So I think there's a guy that's got talent, according to the people I work with, who are saying, okay, he's got a raspy voice. But then it was, for me, emotionally to go through that was quite hard. But then we as a team looked at it, we addressed it, we got on with it and moved forward with it, which was really quite good to have that kind of support. Where I know there's a whole lot of other leaders who don't support people with the disabilities and so forth. And I think it's really quite interesting how you're talking about the leader's mindset. We need to understand things. We need to do things. We need to do it. It's okay to do it. But the leader's mindset may need to change around some things as well going forward. Hence, leadership is changing. Sure. So Marie, the show here, the title is Leadership is Changing. That's the topic we're talking about today. And when we talk about leadership is changing, what does that mean for you?
For me, leadership is changing. It's how you can adapt in a situation. And you need to be very quickly to react on that. Like the COVID came up on us, and the leaders that are changing the world at that moment are leaders that have guts, that take risk, and they don't know where they can go, but they try to find opportunities. They need to look up to the sky and find the positive things. Like you say, every time when there is a crisis, there are big opportunities as well. And I know sometimes when you say to the people in front of you, or you teach, or you try to help people, sometimes people are in such a dark place because they're not people think the economic crisis is very hard. And then you need to step up and really give them peace, tools, like the leadership 8 ways. So it's important to be able to do that. And you need to be strong and confident at that moment to step up and be the person who is looking to the sun. And even though you also have your anxieties, but you know how to handle them. You do at the back end, you do like meditation or affirmation. You have a system in place that can pick you up when you have this anxiety. And that's what you can do to help people help change in this world. And it's very important, the rapidity, how you do it.
Yeah. And that's great. Great teachings that you're sharing with us, or ideas, because you're right. So many leaders need to be confident, and the people in their organizations and the communities and that need them to be confident and strong. And so, as you say, if they look up rather than looking down, because if you're looking down, you don't actually have confidence. So if they're looking up, that's a great thing to do. And if they're strong, they can do it. I quite like what you were just sharing before about the handling the anxiety or being able to do that, but using some discipline to do that. And you mentioned meditation. What are some things? Okay, so meditation, and it sounds like systems or processes or things that people can put in place. Meditation is one of them that you just shared. What else could there be that people can put in place to help them handle anxiety and things like that?
I think in this period, and I saw it with athletes as well, suddenly everything falls away. They don't have that discipline, and they have a team and they know what to do when, and everything falls away. So it gives uncertainty, anxiety. So I say to myself, you need to keep on doing it. I'm a very disciplined person. I always get up at the same time at 5 o'clock. And during the COVID, it was 4 o'clock because I was so pumped up with all the opportunities that came upon me. But I need to say meditation was something that I implemented the day that COVID started, because I heard about meditation and it was, I don't have time for that. I am a high energy person. So it was meditation, and somebody said, start doing it. And I start doing it 3 times a day, 20 minutes before you wake up, 20 minutes. Because when you wake up in the morning, the first thing is, okay, no words, please, that, all the impulses that are coming into your mind, you get up and you are already anxiety. You have already anxiety.
You got anxious, yeah.
So, yes, you are anxious. So the first thing is, I wake up immediately. I do my 20 minutes of meditation. It's a special meditation. I wake up, I do my sports, and it brings you immediately on a higher, good energy. And this is very important if you want to go through this kind of period, that you are disciplined, that you distance yourself from negativity. It's the crisis, it's once in a lifetime. So you need to watch the news, but you don't need to overload yourself with negativity. If you read it once in the evening, or during lunchtime, it's enough. The amount of that, you don't need to scare yourself more. So instead of reading 6 hours the newspaper, do positive things. And that's the difference between going downwards or going upwards.
Nice. The difference between going downwards or upwards. I'm going to write that down. The difference between downwards versus upwards. Yeah, and I think Marie's just talking here about it, the listeners, where she's talking about some structure, the discipline side of things, and sometimes that can fall away when we have an anxious scenario like the pandemic and so forth. And so being disciplined has really helped you through this as well. And so you've done the 20 minutes meditation in the morning, because I think what I just heard you say is that a lot of people, we wake up, and sometimes people wake up to the news on the radio or things like that, and straight away it's just negative, right? And straight away they're going to be talking about all sorts of things. However, if you can wake up and do that 20-minute meditation, put some positive thoughts and positive thinking, or even just clearing your mind from things. Yeah. But the next thing that you said was, I think, is very key as well, is exercise. Because if we can get out and exercise, and it doesn't have to be very long, right? I don't think. I mean, if people get out and exercise and help us get the blood, 20 minutes, yep. Get the blood flowing, get the thinking happening, help everything in the body wake up a bit, that'd be great. But the third thing you said was really, I think, just wow. And that is distance yourself from negativity. So team, distance yourself from negativity, because Marie's just said, and Marie, I've been working with some leaders, and one of them said to me he was obsessed with watching on the news every day and day in and out and on the couch. He was really worried, and I don't know what to do. And I said to him, stop watching the news, man. And like you said, it's important to know what's going on. So watch it once, but don't just stay there all day listening to it all, because it's not going to be good. But so distance yourself from negativity. Excellent stuff. Now, the show is called Leadership is Changing, and that term leadership is changing. When I say that, what does that mean for you, Don?
I think years ago, being a leader meant you had a big title, you had the hierarchy. It was always everybody was chasing the brass ring. It was, and I tell people all the time, everybody wants the compensation and the title and the privileges of leadership. But many times people don't really want the responsibility of leadership. Today, leaders, to me, to be a great leader, you have to be first and foremost a multiplier of talent. You have to be you have to be someone who is identifying talent, growing talent, mentoring talent, recognizing talent, and moving talent around the organization. Oftentimes, if we have a great person that works for us, we don't want to let them go. But the responsibility you have is to seed the rest of the organization with great talent that you develop and grow and develop. And I think it's not so much anymore about your title and your trappings. Those things still are important, but it's more about the experience that you have, the ability to recognize and grow talent. And often, and it's important that when you put somebody in a leadership position, that they do have the experience. It's okay that they are maybe a little green or maybe they're not quite ready. But let me give you an example. Oftentimes I'll see leaders get moved into a position and they don't have the experience to draw from to know what to do in situations. And they may know intuitively what to do, but if you don't have real life examples of where you've dealt with it, it's hard sometimes to be able to do it. A great example is, hey, Dennis, you know how to drive a car, right? And you drive on the opposite side of the road as I do.
You mean on the right side of the road?
Yeah, the right side of the road. But you know your area and you go to work, you drive to your grocery store, you drive home. But if I took you and dropped you in the middle of South America, you still know how to, and put you in a car that you never drove before on the other side of where you drive right now and told you to go to a location, you still intuitively know how to drive. But as you're getting in the car, you're not familiar with how it operates. As you're moving to where you're going to next, you have to look at maps. You're slower. You're not as, because you haven't done it before. But after a few months in that location, you would be just as efficient as you are where you are. Yeah. So the more that we have actual tangible experiences to draw from, the quicker our ability to ramp, the quicker our ability to react, the more we're able to use our more advanced part of our brain rather than just a rudimentary part.
Yeah, that's a great example there, Don. And you're right. I think that, you're right. I remember every time I was coming to the US to do events and things like that, and I would get off the plane and then have to jump in a rental car, and then be on a different side of the car driving and then on a different side of the road, while also being jet lagged. And that whole combination, struggle.
You're not at your best. You're not at your best.
Yeah, you're right. You're not at your best. And it's really interesting. Hey, something you said before about the responsibility for this growing this talent there, but sometimes we don't want to see them go. And the number of times I've seen leaders get upset that this person that they've grown and so forth is moving on to another role. Well, what would be one or two things you might say to those leaders who do get upset and don't want to let go of their people?
I think the thing that I would be saying to those leaders is, wow, that's great. You've done a great job. You've developed a future leader that's now moving on in the organization. And in fact, I challenge companies to measure a leader's success, not by how strong their own team is, but how many people that used to work for them that are now up in senior positions around the company. And in fact, one of the things I liked about Jack was he used to measure that. They used to measure that at GE. If you were a leader that developed, let's say 10 people that were in the top box of a 9 box, that was actually seen as a very strong thing. And you were compensated for that. You were rewarded for doing that. You need to, as a company, you need to put more value on the development of leaders rather than your own team. One of the things I'm most excited about when I came to Milwaukee, here I am coming to Milwaukee, a city I don't know. And about 6 or 7 people that have worked for me at HP and previous 3 or 4 companies, they've joined me. The fact that people have worked for me in other parts of the country, other companies, and they want to come join me tells me they must think I'm doing something to help them grow and develop their careers.
Sure.
And by the way, they've worked for me, they've done great things, and they've left and gone taking bigger jobs, and then they've come back. Our jobs as leaders is to really take the talent and grow and develop it and then set it free. Because as much as I like to think of myself as a good leader, there's other things they can learn besides just working for me. So I would tell that person, take pride in the fact you're developing leaders for the rest of the organization. And who knows, that person may want to come back and work for you someday.
Yeah.
And Dennis, one final thing on that. The more that you can demonstrate to your people that you care about their career more than you care about your own, the more that they're going to actually help you, the more that they're going to believe in you. Because when your people think about what's important to them, they want to be compensated competitively. They want to be recognized for the contributions they give. They want to work for leaders who will grow and develop them, who care about them and will mentor them, leaders who will inspire them, who will give them hope, purpose, who will give them a vision, where they want to work in an environment where they can grow and develop and move up, and they want to work with colleagues they enjoy and have the tools and technology to do their jobs and do them effectively. And if you get those things right, that's what a leader's responsibility is.
Oh, fantastic, Don. Yeah. And you know what? I just watched, I remember you and I sitting in a room in the Philippines. And then there's another example too of you and I sitting in another room in Palo Alto, and we had talent around us and you had individuals working for you. And then the other one that was working for another very senior executive. But just to watch both of those groups and the roles they've gone off to go and do and see how they've succeeded and see how you've actually inputted into their life, their careers and so forth, it's been tremendous to see it. And it's not just people talking about it, it's actually watching it happen and actually being part of it as well. And I think that you're so right. And I think that's the success of the leader. It's our success story, watching others go off to do very well. Hey, Don, go on.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, Dennis, remember we created the MAP program, the Management Association program for HP, for the junior HR people. And if you remember, I always made my chief of staff position when I was in Singapore, a MAP. I always wanted a MAP and I rotated one every 6 months. And the reason why I did that is you give somebody young and talented the exposure to what it means to be a senior leader. It's amazing how it fast-tracked their career. And almost every single person that was a MAP for me in that time and after that has gone on to be a CHRO or a senior HR person at large environments. I can't even tell you how many have, and some people multiple times. It's incredible how if you give talent the right opportunities, how they'll take advantage of it and move and grow from it.
Yeah. Just give them the opportunity, let them fly, let their wings spread and away they go. The show's called Leadership is Changing. When I say that terminology, what does that mean for you?
I had a good think about this, and I look at the way my leadership is. I think as the world quickens up, and now we got people wanting to work from home, we got people working in the office. This whole game is changing, right? There's different laws around all this sort of stuff now. There's going to be different laws created because of everything that's going on. So I think leadership now has to be more open and transparent. And I think, and that's definitely where I see it, because if you want a world-class team, I'm a massive believer in hiring good people and getting out of their way, but leading through the core values, leading through the vision and the bigger picture, but then bringing it back to the core values that everyone can buy into and everyone can take ownership of. And I think that's where, for me, the change is coming, because you're going to have people that want to work from home. You're going to have, and that brings a different dynamic to a team. It's not as connected. So how do we make it connected? We've got to make it connected through some core vision or core values that can really help us drive forward. And so that's the biggest thing I see changing, just how you connect your teams.
Yeah, you're right. That word connect that you just used there, connect, we use technology to connect, whether it's face-to-face and also virtual. But then the other thing too would be connecting them and reminding them and connecting back time and time again to the core values. That's you're saying, because it's not just a 5-minute wonder tick in a box. Hey, we've got our core values. Yeah. It's actually bringing it to life for them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the bringing to life core values is the key. For me personally, and that's what I believe, we have 4 core values in our business. Number 1 is happy to come to work, happy to leave. So what I mean by that is I want people that are happy to turn up, whether they're working from home or because we have a global team, or whether they are coming into the office. I want them happy to come here. I always tell my people, it's not a jail. You don't actually have to be here. But if you are going to be here, be happy. Be happy in your work. Look to deliver world-class stuff. But I also want them happy to leave. I want them happy to actually have things outside of work that they're going to and enjoying, right? Because that's a big part of it, right? You don't want people turning up to be robots every day, right? Yeah, that's core value number 1. And number 2 is passionate about seeing others win. So we have a hashtag, one of my philosophies is celebrate your victories. We have a daily meeting rhythm. And one of the things that we do first off in that meeting rhythm is daily wins. It could be a personal win, it could be a client win, but you bring a win to the table. So people like to win, right? And we love seeing others win. We want our clients to win. I jokingly say to some of our clients, my staff care about you winning more than most of your employees do. And you know what? They get it. The owners of those businesses get it because they see it day in, day out. Our teams work hard for them. So that's a real big one. And I think that galvanizes people when they hear about success. and they bring their successes to the table. So it's a great way to get feedback going. And then another one, a third core value was world-class training, world-class outcomes. So I'm a massive believer in giving the team the best training we can afford. Okay. We work in an environment that is hugely competitive. I was saying in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And it seriously is in the digital space. Yes. Yep. So I want to get my team the upper hand by giving them world-class training. And that really helps them, right? That helps them be the best that they can be, but also it helps our clients. That's the outcome to it. And I've seen that time and time again. And some people said to me, oh, you're training teams and people, they'll leave and start their own business. And that's great. Awesome. At least they're going to go do a good job for the other people that they're going to work for, right?
That's part of your success story, isn't it?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. It's how it should be. It's just a different way of thinking. And I'd rather have them here and they're awesome than have them here and they're not that awesome. So this is the cool thing about having core values too. When I learned this and understood this and started implementing it, core values allow you to hire on core values, but also fire on core values. So It never becomes a personal, when you're getting rid of someone, it never becomes that personal because they're out of alignment with your core values. And you can actually talk them to that. And people will then decide, hey, yeah, this probably is not the environment for me. And the last one is influence through education. We believe if you influence people on the value of doing business with you by giving them education in advance, then you get a better person showing up. So for me, core values is a strong part of leadership. And to some degree, you can have self leadership within the teams now because they all understand the core values. So they know what's right and what's wrong for them.
Yeah, you've set that expectation as well, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
And I like the 4 core values for sure. And bringing that to life team. Hey, listeners, so here with Scott Wilson, we're just talking about the core values of what he uses with his team and helps them bring it to life for them, but also their customers too. So it's fantastic.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leadership is Changing with your host, Denis Giannoutsas. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change, inspiring executives and leaders to adapt and lead a bigger game in a fast-moving world.